Hey, this is Drake here. I was going to make another quick Elden Ring guide video. I had seen a lot of people I play with and heard that people were having difficulty with the DLC, the difficulty being so much higher, and I would agree. I mean, it is way more difficult than the base game. But I found that build variety has become very important to me. Like in base game, I'd just throw on a set of curved swords, and run bleed and pretty much take care of everything. But in the DLC, that hasn't been working as much, so I had to come up with a different way to play, I guess you would say. And what I found, there's a few weapons that you really want to keep on you at all times, and I understand that equipment load is a big issue, especially if you're on first playthrough. So I can understand that. I mean, all these weapons you can get in one playthrough, but you wouldn't be able to carry them. So swapping weapons might be a good idea. But I tend to carry them at all times. But I like to have a set of some sort of curved swords, and I've found that putting the Bloodhound Step on one is probably one of the best options for those fast enemies, because the invulnerability window is so large, and also the distance. Like, there's seem to, in the DLC, they like to do AoE attacks that you can't really roll through. You have to just get out of the way, and if you're in too close, a couple of rolls won't do it. But a couple of these covers so much more distance, so much quicker than a regular roll does. So I would say for fast enemies and for any enemies that are, I guess you would say, flesh based, something that bleeds easily, a good set of curved bleed swords, and any curved swords can do, like, and these are got from skeletal enemies and in the game, but you can also do the Beastman's curved swords, or you can do the Scavenger's curved sword. Basically any curved sword that you can put a different Ash of War and set it to bleed on, and put the Bloodhound Step on, and it just makes life so much easier. And if you use the Mimic tier at summons with these on it with the Bloodhound Step, he's nearly unkillable. He's very good at it. It carry you through a lot of the boss fights. And I like to keep a heavy weapon with the Savage Lion's Claw, which I just made a video on it. So if you're curious, just pop over and watch it, how to get it. But and I like to run bleed on pretty much everything, just because, why not? It's just extra damage there for free. But the Savage Lion's Claw does so much poise damage, it pretty much stun locks them in place and works great against any of the heavily armored enemies. You can break their stance really quick and just basically stagger lock them in place. The other weapon I like to keep, and I never really use it except for farming in the base game, but it's the Sacred Relic Sword. There's so many instances on the game where there's a group of 10 or 15 enemies that are going to be spamming projectiles at you that you just cannot get close to them. So pop one of these, one or two of these, and just wipe them all out from a distance and take care of those groups with ease. And the other one that I had to put together, and it seemed like, let me find it here, they tried to push ranged battle a lot in the DLC, which I can appreciate, because like I said, I'd never run any ranged build before, but I had to put one together just specifically for this. It's the Bolt of Gransax, and forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. But for the Grave Birds, this thing is awesome. Like, just stand back from a distance, use your charge bolt on them, and if you set it up right, you can basically one-shot them. And also on the armored enemies, anyone who's wearing metal armor, this thing will just decimate. But as far as talismans, like I said, you can get all of these in one playthrough, but a lot of them, and they're all from base game. None of these are from the DLC, but a lot of them you have to go through specific NPC storylines to get them. So, you can get them in one playthrough, but you'll have to be very thorough. Now, for most of it, I keep Shard of Alexander on for everything, because that's just 20% on every weapon skill that you use, which it ain't good for the Bloodhound Step, but for everything else it's good. I keep the rotted wing sword insignia on for the successive attacks, but that's mainly for my my curved sword build. And the blood loss for 20% damage boost for a little while after every time you do a bleed proc. And the white mass for another 10% every time you do a bleed proc. And then the other one I just run the Dragon Crest Great Shield here just for the physical damage negation. But basically, I mean, you can run whatever you have that functions for your build, but this one is almost a must. And I would say for the grave birds or range stuff, I like to swap over and use the ritual sword for another 10% at max HP, and I also give up the blood talisman for this, or the Godfrey icon, which enhances charge spells and skills which functions with the bolt. As you can see, when you've got those equipped, this thing will put out some damage. And when you get into DLC, I mean, you get, right now I'm at plus 14 on the, what is it, the erdtree blessing, and that's like over a 50% damage buff. So everything you do in here, you'll be doing 50% more in the DLC. But me personally, these weapons have really changed the game for the DLC. Just having a variety to choose from and having some ranged options, like a lot of the dragon fights, it's just impossible to fight them up close because they've got so many AoE attacks that you just cannot stay underneath them. So just equip a ranged weapon, and it's like they almost intended for you to do more build variety in the DLC than the base game, which I can kind of appreciate that, because it's kind of broadened me up. Like I said, I use more and different weapons than I ever have before. But that's it. I thought I'd mention it because, I mean, like I said, you can get all of these in one playthrough. You have to be very thorough and kind of watch your NPC quest lines. And man, when you get up to like playthrough 5 and 6 and 7 and stuff like that, they hit so hard that you really need something to be able to take care of them, because almost any enemy can one-shot you. But that's it. And I'm not gonna go over any locations because I'm sure there's a million guides out for everything that I've got on here. As far as armor, I just got the bull goat on for highest physical and highest poise that you can get, but it's very heavy. Like I said, I mean, if you haven't got close to max stats, you can't carry all this stuff. You'll be overweight. But I mean, there is some really good talismans for that too that you could get. Something like the erdtree favor 2 here. It puts your equipment load up. What is this is probably the best equipment load one here. The Great Jars Arsenal, was it, put it up 160, 30.4 points on your load. Like I said, there is some options. You can run these, and if you can manage this one actually boosts your HP, stamina, and equipment load. So I mean, nothing's always good, but just run what you have to. But like I said, having a variety of weapons in the DLC seemed to, for me, to take it from being infuriating to actually pretty fun. Just, you know, see your enemies, know which ones they are, swap to the appropriate weapon, and watch them melt away. But that's it. If you have any questions, leave in the comments. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, drop a subscription. As always, thanks for watching.